So I got into a Twitter war with Andrew Zimmern from Bizarre Foods.
Yep.
Wasn't really a war. It was more like a civil discussion on Twitter, which is rare these days. I have loved Andrew Zimmern ever since I discovered him on Bizarre Foods, and I mean love in the purely platonic entertainment television type way. Andrew has he woke the food culinary explorer in me, and it's as a result of having watched Bizarre Foods.
That's what you came up with?
He started a culinary exploration fire in my belly that has resulted in me exploring culinary. So my Twitter fight with Andrew Zimmern wasn't really a fight. I did voice some frustration with him over what his Twitter feed had turned into. Now, I started following Andrew Zimmern on Twitter. He's a fun guy and I love what he does with food. At some point, I noticed that his feed had become disproportionately dedicated to the ever-consuming force of politics in today's day and age. I tweeted him and I said, Andrew, I didn't follow you so that I could be bombarded with more divisive political tweets. If I wanted that, I'd stick to James Woods' Twitter account. So I said, look, your feed has become dedicated to divisive politics. When did this happen? When did you let yourself get consumed by the black hole force of politics and social media? Someone came to his defense, said, you know, he's entitled to his own opinions and he's entitled to his politics and etc., etc. And my response was, that's not my point. Of course he's entitled to his opinion, but he has always, as his raison d'etre, as the spirit of his show and the spirit of who he is as a person, sought to unify people through culinary exploration. Now his Twitter feed is the same negative, partisan vitriol that we see on both sides, from James Woods now to Andrew Zimmern. But Andrew Zimmern actually responded with 3 simple words: you're both right. I genuinely felt bad about the tweet because I felt that I might have hurt him or insulted him in front of other people. So that's where we are now. And now I'm gonna go to La Mer and get something that I've never eaten before just because. Yeah, sorry, for those of you who don't watch my channel regularly, La Mer, it's Montreal's premium fish market. They have everything and anything you could ever want from the seafood world. So I'm gonna go see if they have lamprey and catfish. 2 things I've never tasted before. Quick question, how you doing?
I'm very good, and you?
I got these things.
Cherry stone, beautiful clams.
Can I die from poisoning by eating them?
Them raw? Absolutely not, sir.
Okay.
There's no problem with shellfish because you can find the tag and when they've been harvested and when, how long ago, or like for each day they've been harvested. So they're very heavy, very close. They're live, so you can eat them raw. No problem.
I may cook them just to be sure.
All right.
All right, awesome.
Barbecue there.
All right, will do, thank you. And the discussion with Andrew really got me thinking about stuff that I'd already been thinking about. There is enough in this world going on that perpetually divides people, and what is the solution? Social media, I think, is part solution, part problem. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. So social media, it's like a megaphone that never turns off, and it's blaring day in and day out, and it becomes overwhelming and it becomes all-consuming. I mean, you are literally bombarded by the best and the worst on a daily basis, but for some reason, being bombarded by the worst has a far greater impact than being bombarded by the best. It's like my theory that hot is hotter than cold is cold. The bad is worse than the good is good, in terms of its impact on the soul. Or maybe that makes absolutely no sense at all. Oh, hey. You ever seen clams before? Something else that I've said time and time again, talking politics, it's either preaching to the choir or it's talking to deaf ears. And that's not to say that you shouldn't talk politics. There is a time and a place to talk politics. It's just that with social media, people tend to think that it's always the time and the place to talk politics, and it makes the social media atmosphere very depressing at times. Uh-oh, it's under your leg. There you go. Politics is fundamentally divisive, it's fundamentally tribal, it's fundamentally us versus them. If you're not with us, you're against us. If you don't agree with me, you're wrong. It's virtually impossible to have a civil political discussion, even in the best of circumstances. Bring that over to the Twitter sphere, Facebook, Instagram, it becomes impossible. you're in a world where you have limited characters to express an opinion. There is no room for nuanced opinion, no room for trying to understand what other people are saying. It is a quip over quip, insult over insult, talking past each other, not with each other. And the worst thing about it is that it is an ever-consuming force. It's like a black hole, and the closer you get to the black hole, the faster it draws you in. And you get to a point where you're at the event horizon where you can never escape. And the closer you get to the black hole, the more you say things like, it is political to not be political. We live in a world where you have to be political. It's so important now that if you don't take a position, you're part of the problem. As if this wasn't what they were saying during the war in Vietnam, or the war with North Korea, or the nuclear missile crisis. Everybody always seems to think politics is an urgent, life or death decision at this point in time, such that it justifies the all-consuming, all-invasive effect of politics. I have no doubt it has always been this way, but social media has just made it 10 times worse. 10 times worse in terms of scope and pervasiveness, and 10 times worse in terms of the manner in which we go about political discourse. That's my vent. What's my solution? We are all human, fine, but we are not fundamentally united. We are, in fact, fundamentally divided. But that's not necessarily the end of the world. The problem today is that we live in a world where we find it impossible to establish any sort of connection with someone with whom we find ourselves divided. Politically, religiously, ethnically, gender-wise. We are fundamentally divided, but there is something that fundamentally unites and unifies people throughout the world. And I've been thinking about what it is. What is it? It's not art. Art is oftentimes deliberately political. Art is deliberately antagonizing. It pushes the limits. It plays with people's sensitivities. It crosses the bounds of people's sensitivities. Art may have universal appeal, but it is certainly not a universal unifier. Pudge, you're kind of in the frame. But if it's not art, what is it? It's not music either, I can tell you that much. It is very difficult to look at songs like Childish Gambino's This Is America and see an attempt at unifying and bringing people together. It's not film, it's not clothing, it's not sports, and it's not even literature. It is certainly not religion. There is only one thing susceptible of unifying humankind. It is the human protein that bonds us all. It's food. It's food. Food is the universal unifier. It's the metaphoric egg in the metaphoric salmon patty, the milk in the cereal, the cream in the coffee. Food is the only thing susceptible of bonding and unifying all of humankind. Food creates memories. It brings people closer together. It gives people something to do on a rainy day. It brings kids closer to their parents and their parents closer to their kids. Sometimes it tastes good, other times it tastes awful. This is the project. This is the mission which you are all invited to accept should you choose to. Hashtag foodvine. In a 7-second video, tell me what your favorite food is and why. Nothing more complicated than that. Send me the videos directly, post them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, and I'll make a compilation of as many as possible. Unedited, unaltered, uncommented, just a compilation of people from around the world. What is their favorite food and why? If you want to say what your name is and where you're from, all the better, but not required. Let this be what people share on social media, not political nonsense from one side and from the other. Call out your friends, offer them the challenge, get this going. Food is the unifying force of humanity. Andrew Zimmern, I'm starting with you. Sorry, I'm gonna start with myself. My favorite food, steak, because it reminds me of summer as a child. Andrew Zimmern, on to you. Peace out. Who would have thought that making poutine would bring an entire family together? So the consensus is hot and not good.
Mom, chili. We're making chili.
We're making chili.